Ну, я бы хотела
I would like to tell you about PERM case, first of all. Our museum was established in 2009. I would like to give this background, if you don't mind, just to describe how we started the collection, how this collection appeared. So the idea of Perm Museum of Contemporary Arts belongs to Marat Gelman, who is a famous curator and gallery owner. And so the museum became one of the most important instruments for promoting cultural policies in the region. And it had to become the flagship of the Perm cultural revolution. So initially, this problem of creating a museum was related to what kind of a museum we should establish, whether it should be a unique or universal museum. And I have to say that starting a museum from scratch is very difficult, and it's not only about exhibitions, it's also about collection. And that's the difference between museums and galleries or centers for contemporary art. So Marat came up with this genius idea when he used the very interesting concept. And again, I'd love to re-emphasize that the museum has to be convertible in the global space. We have to rely upon very important brands like Russian avant-garde or Moscow conceptualism, etc. So by the time our museum started, all those works were in different collections, and also there's an issue of museum economy, because if you want to create a collection, you have to have a lot of money, especially if we speak about regional museum. Even if there is some regional support, still it's a big work. So Marat left his job as a director a year and a half ago, and the museum entered the crisis of identity phase, because we had to reinvent the idea of our collection. So this term, Russian poor, is a new term, is a big framework which entails a large circle of Russian artists that have certain aesthetics with some signs of poverty. And every artist never really used the philosophy of the Russian poor. They established themselves without any ideological influence, unlike Arte Povera. And as a result, lots of different artists got into this vein, both the stars and unknown artists. And that's how this concept shaped itself. And the museum became a producer. Even if we separate the museum from Marat Gelman's personality, it would become evident, because actually it was originally Marat's project. So it's a fascinating story about creating a very interesting museum that relied on national identity, and while promoting the museum outside Russia. So by definition, it becomes an export product. So there's nothing like that, and it's a really unique story. And the exhibitions that started the collection Russian Poor was shown several times in Europe, in Paris, in Milan, and was very successful because the concept was very clear and straightforward. So like shaping the collection or projecting the collection. It's like branding. And everything was fine before Marat left the job. And the same idea of Russian poor was offered to Perm governor, who was instrumental for our Perm project. And at that time, this crisis hit, because apart from Perm poor that we have at our museum, there is an alternative collection developed by the Perm governor, Oleg Churkunov, and many artists that did their works for Perm museum began to repeat their works for Oleg, the governor. So, and that's why we speak about this collision. I became an art director last year, and so I had lots of doubts.
To answer the question.
Окей, да. И поэтому...
So I began to think about the concept of Russian poor in terms of branding. I understand that the more we have related to the brand, the more powerful the brand becomes. So we are going to stick to the Russian poor brand, and Oleg, the governor, will play the role of the European producer of our collection. And then if the museum finds a chance to develop a new layer, then we'll do that. Actually, the brand of the Russian poor is something that Russia needs, and in terms of building this Russian version of art that might be like a souvenir concept, but it will help to promote Russian art beyond Russia's borders. So we hope we'll continue this work because other work related to post-Soviet art and Perm artists are much weaker than that concept that I described. And there are also some alternative producers and collections that are promoting this as well.